Okay, we're back with this workshop on the keys to a successful outsourcing relationship. This Q&A session will be led by Ahmad Al-Amin. He's a Lebanese-American entrepreneur and is the CEO and co-founder of Tech Genies, a global software development company with more than 200 employees spread across 10 offices around the globe. Before founding Tech Genies, Ahmad spent 7 years at Research Now Dynata and was the head of the operations team for the Growth Channels business unit. Ahmad's balanced approach of being client-focused while ensuring that the employees are highly satisfied was key to his success at Research Now. Ahmad holds an MBA from the University of Texas in Dallas. Before I welcome Ahmad, this is a Q&A session, so please do post your questions in the chat so that our chat moderator, and then I'll be able to address them to Ahmad once he's done with the presentation. Welcome, Ahmad. It's so good to have you here. It's all yours.
Thank you, Neil. Thanks for the intro, and thank you everybody for joining us today. Excited to talk about not an exciting topic. It may be a little bit boring, but we'll try to keep it exciting. The topic is what are the keys for a successful outsourcing relationship? And of course, for a topic like that, it's easily doable for anybody to Google all kinds of information and be able to learn lessons. There are courses, there are resources, all kinds of tips, and outsourcing 101 and such. I try to stay away from that as much as possible. I use some of my own experience, some of common sense, and some other sources, including my own team, asking them what works for them and what in their opinion, is considered a successful outsourcing relationship. So we're going to keep it short, just a few slides, and open it up for Q&A. And here we go. So I know that the topic is basically once you've already made the decision to outsource, but part of being successful is making sure first that you go through the motions and making sure that you actually do have a problem that you need to solve, and that you looked for various options and solutions. And if outsourcing is one of them, you want to make sure to understand the potential risks of outsourcing and the investment associated. And by investment, it doesn't always mean just money. It's money, time, training, being invested in the people that you're working with, getting yourself educated on the different types of outsourcing, and then proceed with a partner selection process, kick off a relationship successfully, which we'll talk about some tips to do that, and then grow your business in a win-win-win partnership. And the keyword is partnership. So what are some problems that outsourcing could be a good solution for? As an organization, you may be having some exciting sudden growth. You may be looking for cost savings. You may be looking for talent that you're unable to hire locally or regionally. You may be looking for specific skill sets. You may be looking for people in different time zones. Or maybe you just want to focus on what makes you money at the company. Focus on the core functions, and anything that's not core, you think about outsourcing. Things to keep in mind about outsourcing. You want to identify what risks, so you are ready to monitor those risks and have plan in place. Everything comes with a risk. Working with an outside entity comes with a risk. Make sure to be prepared for the investment it takes. Take the time and effort to select the right partner. Selecting an outsourcing partner is, I think about it like dating. If you just have some simple function, something that's easy to give somebody else to do, that's like dating. That is working with a vendor. If you're looking to build a team, build a long-term relationship, if you're looking to add to your team through this partner, then it's a partnership. I'm a huge fan of partners, not a huge fan of vendors, relationships in general. And invest in the people that you choose to partner with. Just because the partner and their people that you work with, they know what they're doing and they've done it and you've vetted them, there's a lot of synergies that need to be built after you make a decision to move forward with them. So selecting the best partner. Think about it like hiring a candidate at your job, at your company. When you're looking for candidates, you look on paper, on resume, you look at what are the things that they have, the must-haves, and then on paper, they have all the qualifications, the experience, the skills, the education. So when you do an interview, you just scan through those as just confirmation. But then when you interview to make sure that there's a fit, that this person will fit in your culture. This person is someone you can trust. It's the intangibles that you interview for the most part. So for vendors, assuming they all have the must-haves and their cost is right within budget and all the references check out. So what you want to look at, if you want to outsource a project, then a vendor is a right term to use to find a partner that is just a vendor. You go through the contracts, the terms, the agreements, plus who's your main point of contact, but everything is simple, straightforward. There's not a lot of complexity in what you're giving them. So the vetting in that and selection is a little bit easier. When you're looking to build a team, let's see, okay, no wonder. If you guys are not confused, that means you're not paying attention because I skipped a slide. So before I jump into that, talking about selecting what are the different types of outsourcing? The way I think about it, specifically from IT perspective, but it also covers most industries. You have three different options or three different buckets. You either outsource, like a small project, a process, a function, which can be done easily, fast, low risk usually, or you work with a partner that you need to build a dedicated team, which usually doesn't happen really fast, but they have a dedicated team. They have some pieces that they can assign a team to you. Or when you do staff augmentation, which means you need to handpick the people and they become an extension of your organization, which is a slower process. So you definitely don't want to rush that. And on this slide, I started talking about selecting the best partner. But then I decided that this section needs its own slide. So back to where we were a minute ago. Outsourcing the project is simple, easy, straightforward compared to others. When you're looking for a partner to build a dedicated team, of course you go through everything else from contracts, terms, and agreements, and point of contact, and all of that. But you also want to make sure that there's a matching culture. You want to dig deeper into SLAs, visibility, transparency, deliverables, and personnel, because you really want to start working with this partner that they can have a dedicated team that's dedicated to you and your company and work hand in hand with you on a day-to-day basis. Staff augmentation is a step further. Staff augmentation, they build a team that you hand select. Interview process, whether they're people that are existing with a partner, whether they are people that they have to recruit and screen and present to you to make a decision. So it's selection process, just like you would hire your own team. But then you do the day-to-day management of the operation, you do the day-to-day assignments. The partner in this case is just someone that will enable your team to do their job, enable you to capitalize on this team, and stand on the sidelines and be an escalation point. They're not going to be involved in the deliverables. They're not going to be involved in anything operational, just administrative and escalations. They take care of your team's local pay, benefits, almost like a PO to an extent. And the other thing you want to look at for a partner is size. Yes, size does matter. You want to make sure that the vendor partner is equipped to support your needs, that you're not too small of a client for them, and at the same time that they are or they're not too small to support you. In that case, it doesn't mean that if a partner is a small partner vendor is a smaller company, doesn't mean that they cannot be a fit. You just want to make sure that whatever you give them, whatever you partner with them on, has a scope that they're able to handle and scale accordingly. So the keys for successful, I like to use partnership more than outsourcing relationship. These are the different items that you want to keep in mind. And again, there are checklists all over the internet. There are project management books and courses and degrees and all kind of stuff. But here are a few things that are key to a successful partnership. Making sure that both parties assign point of contact. Make sure who is the main person that you talk to on the vendor partner side and vice versa. Making sure you have a kickoff meeting. Take time to get to know each other. Of course, if it's just an outsourcing project, some of these can be done much quicker. But if you're looking into long-term partnership, you're looking into building a team, you're looking into staff augmentation, that could be many years of working together. You really want to get to know each other. Then you need to communicate, agree, and document the following. Of course, requirements, setting expectations around quality, productivity, working hours, timelines, deliverables, tools, methodologies, roles, responsibilities, all the basics for a successful execution of a product or a project or a process. You also want to define SLAs, goals, compliance norms. What are the measurements and success criteria that are going to be used to decide or to measure if the process, the relationship, the project, the team is operating successfully. You want to define what are the communication and escalation plans, so you know exactly who to talk to, when to talk to, the frequency of talking, who to go to if there's something that's not planned that happens. You want to discuss the failures and the risks. Usually in a relationship, people don't want to think about the end being a failure, or risks and issues come in. They're not a fun topic to talk about, but they're important to talk about upfront, and try to put mitigation plans and response plans for those. Those are more on the 4 things that you need to do. The parts that are my favorite, which are more on the behavioral, the mindset, the culture, which are really key when it comes to dedicated teams and staff augmentation. Things that are more on the soft skills side for the most part, and things that you need to do, and things that you can train and learn, and you become better as a culture. You want to be proactive with your communication. Communicate early and often. You can never over communicate. Be transparent. Keep realistic expectations. Constantly evaluate and adjust. Do a proper onboarding of the new personnel. It is a very, very important step to make sure everybody that works from your side, or the client or the vendor partner side, gets onboarded to the relationships. Everybody's on the same page. Also, outsourced talent, it cannot be effective if they're not supported equally as well as in-house talent. So you want to think about them just as an extension of your team. Of course, this doesn't apply when it's an outsourced project. You want to promote a healthy environment, just like you would do when you're trying to build a good culture in your company. Make sure everybody feels valued and heard. Treat the extension of your team as if they are part of your team. Talking about the training, coaching, recognition, have them part of your internal communication, help with their on the ground manager and the HR manager work on their career path. Add them to your own existing tools. You don't want to have a separate tool for those that are staff augmentation through a vendor partner in a different country just because they are a vendor partner. You're telling them they're different from day one if you put them on separate tools. Respect their holidays. That's a big one, and learn about their cultures and norms. That's how you can bond with them. That's how people can go the extra mile. That's how people can care about what they're doing. That is not just a job. When possible, if it makes sense, visit them. If you're able to visit, we're talking here about Lebanon. If you have teams there, you have partners there, make an effort to go visit and meet them in person, and invite them over when possible to join large corporate events if you do it in person, wherever you're at. Um, Include them in any giveaways or gifts that you give your onshore in-house employees. Include them with those, and also work on, when you're talking about working with people, different time zones, different countries, different cultures, and so on. Try to use tools and processes for reporting. Do not micromanage. Just because somebody's in a different time zone, just because they work different hours. Using the tools will tell you about productivity without you having to micromanage them, and bombard them with emails when it's already after hours, for example. That's it. I promised to go fast. This was fast.
Thank you, Ahmad. I'm back sharing with my video on because there are a few questions that have come up that I would like to ask. I don't know if you wanna, I don't know if everyone sees us or if they just see your slides. So maybe if you stop sharing, they can see us. And I'll go ahead and ask the first question.
I'm going to share my sources here that I promised
Okay.
for a second, then we can turn off the screen.
Okay. First question, how can you fix an outsourcing relationship that's not working? What recommendations do you have for fixing it? And if you have a use case, that would be great as well. Always better.
So let me stop sharing here. All right. First of all, what is not working? Is it a matter of you chose the wrong partner, that they said they have a certain skill set, but you find out that they're not? So it's just like any relationship. Is it something fundamental that cannot be fixed, or is it something that actually could be worked on and could be fixed? You worked hard in selecting the right partner in the beginning, and you already invested in that relationship. You've gone through the non-fun part. If something is broken but is fixable, that's when you want to invest the time into have open communication, lay out the problem, work on a solution together. A couple of key things are when you're working with people from different cultures. Understand how they communicate. Just because they nod doesn't mean that they agree. They're just polite, or that's what their culture is. Just because they don't say no to your face doesn't mean that they agree with you. So make sure that you get to understand that and lay out and make sure that you're talking with them, not to them or at them. So you give them the floor for them to voice their opinion. And if you have to nudge further, do that. Also, if it's something that if it's something that comes up as a deal breaker, don't try to fix it. Just, kind of in sales, they tell you work hard on leads and talk to leads and prospects and so on. But if it's a no, get to a quick no. The sooner you get to the no, you move on. But yeah, open communication and making sure that it's collaborative. Don't put in one key thing that I lost my train of thought. One key thing is that do not give them what are the steps you need to fix the problem. You want to problem solve with them because you want them to come with solutions as well. The only way you can hold people accountable, people and organizations, is when they come back to you with a solution, versus you saying, here's a plan, this is what I need to follow, let's use the next 90 days to see if it works out. So those are my few tips on that.
Thank you. Awesome leadership tips that are always the right way to go when you lead with empathy and have proper communication. We have another question that came in from someone from Smart Source. I'm going to read it out. You mentioned that an outsourcing vendor should not be too small for your needs. Don't you think the same is true if he is too big for your needs?
Exactly, and I think I meant to talk about those two things. If they're too big, yes, maybe the sales manager was happy to sign a contract with you, but when it comes to execution, if you have an issue, you're too small of a client, too small of a partner for them to make you a priority. You want to make sure that the partner you work with, they value you as a partner. You're not too small for them to spend time on your problems. So yeah, absolutely, making sure it's a fit size-wise, whether they're skills, but also size and expertise.
There's another question, and this is, we're going back to talking about the different risks and advantages. So what are the different risks and advantages with different types of outsourcing, the different types of outsourcing you mentioned, which are outsource a project, a dedicated team, or staff augmentation?
So when you're outsourcing a project or a process, let's start with the lowest risk. Lowest risk is when you're outsourcing something that you've been doing yourself for many years. It's very simple. Let's say it's an accounting process. It's you lay out the steps for anybody, you train them, onboard them, and they can learn to do it in a few days. You give it to an outsourcing partner, you train their teams, and it's easy, low risk, easy tasks, and will take away from a lot of work and effort and attention from you, but it can be put on autopilot. If it's building a product, let's say it's a small project. If it's the smaller the project, the lower the risk. The better the requirements, the lower the risk. The larger the project, the better, the higher the risk. Which means that's when you want to vet your partner. That's when you want to vet the different vendors. So think about it. If it's something that you've done or you can do easily, and you hire someone and you can train them on the spot, or something you can build in-house fairly quickly, then working with an outside partner with the right requirements means it's lower risk. When it comes to what I put as the highest amount of investment you want to put in, which is when it comes to staff augmentation. With staff augmentation, basically, you're not giving them requirements for a product. You're giving requirements for people. And so there are many factors involved when it comes to hiring people. Just like any company you work with, no matter where you're located, when they put a team together, it takes a long time to go through the steps until a team is productive. So when you work with a partner, there's an extra layer of complexity with time zone, culture, somebody else doing the recruiting and the vetting on your behalf, the culture inside the company that they're working for legally. So that's what makes it more complex. That's where it comes the human element. You can define the role responsibilities. We all put the job posts on JFL. You find candidates, and everybody you hire is always the perfect fit when you interview them. It's when you start finding out that they may not be. That's why it's a higher risk. That's why you want to take your time. That's why you want to invest, just like you invest when you hire people.
Thank you, Ahmed. You spoke specifically in your answer about working with different cultures. So I'm going to address the next question that's related to that. Can you give a use case of difficulties you or your company has faced or seen when working with people across different countries? And
Absolutely.
how you tackled it? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So we currently have teams that are working on the delivery side, so delivery centers in 8 different countries. So cultures around the globe, you learn a lot, and you want to be open-minded. The challenges you have are a couple of things that I touched on during my presentation, which is when you talk to them, make sure that when they nod, that they actually agree. Just because they nod doesn't mean that they agree. Make sure that you train them on your way of operating. That doesn't mean a jerk way of doing things, but you train them by empowering them. We are fortunate to be headquartered in the US, and the US culture, when it comes to the corporate world, is one of the best because everybody's empowered. People can speak their minds. You don't have to agree with everything that your boss tells you. And of course, that's in a healthy culture, work environment. So one of the key things that I've done is making sure that I've worked really hard and making sure that we build a strong foundation for people in all the different countries to have the same culture that we have in the US so they can feel the open door policy, feel heard. We encourage them when they're working with their clients to voice their opinion, to challenge, because when you're working on a technology product, people hire you because you're an expert. People hire you for your skills, not to say yes, nod, and do what they ask you to do. Use cases. I'll give you something very simple example. Was when we set up our company office in Mexico City. We had a small office in the beginning with a handful of people in a small building, and only two of the employees had the key to the main building door, and everybody else had to make sure that one of those two was at the office before they come in. So I go there to our legal representative and tell them, hey, can we do like a fingerprint or something so we can help people get in so they don't have to wait as the team is growing. The last thing you want is for people to travel an hour to get to work and then wait outside. And in a typical, similar to a Lebanese working environment also. He says, yeah, we can do that. Of course, we'll put a fingerprint. They can come, and also we can run reports. I can tell you what time they come in, what time they leave, and if they're taking any breaks. I'm like, no. I don't want any of that. This is only to help them get in and get out. So when you hire people, make sure you hire people that you trust. Trust them until they give you a reason not to. Don't micromanage them, and empower them so they can do the best that you hired them to do.
Yeah. Empowerment is definitely one of the very important values that a company should have for its employees. We have a couple more minutes before we end the session, so I'm going to end with this last question. Can you tell us a bit about how much the uprise of remote work in the past couple of years has affected outsourcing relationships, or if it has at all?
Absolutely. The pandemic and life post-pandemic has expedited many industries to become more open and forced to actually be open to hire remote workers, to hire people across different time zones, to hire talent wherever they find it. So outside of just the simple thing, when everybody's working from the office and suddenly everybody has to work from home, that's a simple one where people became comfortable with having people work remotely. You also have the advanced need for technology, which meant for the last couple of years and ongoing, a shortage of talent, because now industries that were thinking on the roadmap to start building products and that they need to be more up to date on technologies, the pandemic expedited that. So with the requirement and the needs, some companies used to outsource or hire nearshore, offshore, whatever they can find talent, because they were global, or because they needed a lot of people, a lot of talent, or because they needed to save money. Right now, companies don't have the luxury. You could have the best budget, you could be in the best city in the country, and still have a hard time finding people. So it's no longer a luxury; it's a necessity. And for companies that want to grow and scale and survive, they have to get on the bandwagon of that. The world is just a small village. You want to find the best talent wherever it's at.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much, Ahmed. Let me check the chat real quick if there are any last questions. Looks like we've answered all of them with a few seconds a minute to spare. So I'll
Awesome.
go ahead and just say, let me stop this because it rings. Well, sorry. So yeah, so let's say our time is up for the session. Thanks, Ahmed, for your time. It was very educational information that you shared with everyone.